It's a very good afternoon. Welcome to ZTN News Blitz. Let's take a look at our top stories. Zimbabwe's High Court rules against currency separation. 3 MDC Alliance MPs defy Chamisa orders. South Africa to cautiously ease coronavirus lockdown. And in sport, Man United signed Dembele and create space for Kadewere at Lyon. Zimbabwe's High Court has set aside currency separation introduced in 2018. In handing the judgment, Justice Happiest Joe set aside the Exchange Control Directive by the Reserve Bank in October 2018. This comes after Penelope Douglas Stone from the Stone Beatty studio took the RBZ and the Ministry of Finance to court over a $142,000 deposit. Our correspondent Andy Hodges gives us more on the story from the High Court.
Currency separation has been set aside by the High Court of Zimbabwe. That means that US dollar debts now have to be paid in US dollars after the High Court ruled that Exchange Control Directive R120 of 2018 is invalid. Now, if you recall, a couple of months ago, the same court in Zimbabwe ruled that if you had US dollar debt, you could convert it at 1-to-1 and pay your liability at 1-to-1, which meant if you owed $1 million US, you paid 1 million Zimbabwe dollars. That appears to be set aside now by the High Court. Therefore, if you owe US dollar debt, if you owed $1 million US debt, you would have to now pay $1 million US back. Now, what does that mean to government? Well, government, of course, benefited from the original ruling. And this means now that government's debt that was in US dollars now is liable to be paid in US dollars and not at 1-to-1 in Zimbabwe dollars. Now, we're yet to hear whether the government will appeal this ruling, and we'll keep you up to date on that if it comes up. Anyway, I'm Andy Hodges, reporting for ZTN.
The World Health Organization says Zimbabwe must not lower its guard yet in the fight against COVID-19. Zimbabwe has been on lockdown since March 30th. Almost a fortnight ago, authorities relaxed the lockdown conditions to allow some businesses to resume operations. With a few days left before another review of the lockdown, WHO country representative Dr. Agnes Gasasira is urging caution.
So our recommendation at WHO is to continue intensified surveillance. Let's not be distracted by the numbers that are being confirmed or that are coming out negative. As you have rightly pointed out, we know that this is a very infectious disease. So as long as we have anybody who is confirmed, we should maintain very high vigilance. So that's what we would recommend. The fact that we haven't got many more cases yet is not enough reason for us to reduce the vigilance.
3 MDC Alliance members this morning defied the party's directive to disengage from parliamentary business. The directive had been reached after the Thokozani Kupe faction recalled 4 of the party's senior members. In return, the Chamisa faction ordered all its deployees to stop participating in parliamentary business. At the Lands and Agriculture Parliamentary Portfolio Committee meeting this morning, the trio defied its party's directive, while the other 7 party members stayed away.
I don't feel like I'm going against party directive, but only that this is the COVID-19 pandemic, which I can't stay away. I've got to come and represent my people of my constituents. This is the time they need me most. Like the previous committee, they were talking about food. They were talking about the problems we are encountering in the constituencies, and me as in opposition. There are a lot of problems we are encountering in opposition because our people are being selected and so I had to highlight the people in authority so that they can make good the differences between the political parties. People think being in opposition is enmity. It's not enmity. It's just a matter of different opinions, and we should be doing things together.
Committee Chairperson Justice Mayor Wajgajena revealed that 6 other MDC members of Parliament had communicated that they would not make it because they were being threatened by their superiors.
they have called and sent messages being victimized by their superiors, especially Wende, is going to be threatening them that if they attend to this committee, they will be expelled. So most have sent messages apologizing for whatever few bereavements and the challenges coming up.
Meanwhile, the scheduled meeting in which officials from the Ministry of Agriculture were to appraise Parliament on the 2020 winter cropping season failed to take off, as the former had not submitted required documents prior to the meeting, as is the standard. They were ordered to reappear within 2 weeks.
The information that the contract that you submitted, the information is insufficient. I think you know it. It's not everything that we requested. So we're asking you to go and tell your PMSEC, Dr. Basera, that the committee needs him here altogether. We're not going to entertain you. We want Dr. Basera to come with the information requested. Is that clear?
Zimbabwe's power output for the first quarter of 2020 stood at 1,293.86 gigawatt hours, which is 21.56% below the same period last year. The Zimbabwe Power Company attributes the decline to depressed generation at the country's power stations. Interestingly, the country did not feel the slump as power imports plugged in the deficit. Recently, Zimbabwe settled a debt it owed South African power producer Eskom. In a statement released yesterday, ZPC said power generation at Kariba was depressed in the first 3 months of the year, while Hwange output was 32.63% below first quarter target. Meanwhile, fuel queues have resurfaced throughout the country following the easing of the country's lockdown conditions. This comes as petrol and diesel prices dropped by 77 cents and 68 cents respectively 9 days ago, on the back of a fall in free on-board prices driven by a global oil surplus. The development followed Treasury's move to increase duty on fuel around the same time. We cross over to our correspondent Ndaka Majaka as she gives us more.
Seems Zimbabweans are back to life as usual as fuel queues have mushroomed all over the country. This follows the partial lifting of the COVID-19 mandated lockdown. A week ago, Treasury revised its fuel duty regime upwards. However, petrol and diesel prices were then slashed by 76 and 64 cents respectively. Petroleum industry insiders have told us that most players are hoarding and holding onto product for speculative purposes. Fuel attendants that we spoke to around the capital told us that they had indeed received orders to ration products. We come back to you in the studio.
Most parents may find it difficult to start conversations with their children about the COVID-19 pandemic. Messages on the pandemic can sometimes be too abstract for young minds to comprehend. As such, parents have a task to break down these messages into small chunks of meaning for their children. But some of these little ones can surprise you with just how much they know. ZTN correspondent Wongani Siziba spoke to some young minds to find out how much.
Coronavirus makes other people sore and making people's throats sore. Coronavirus is a disease that is stopping me to go to school. It's a virus that attacked the world. It is COVID-19. God must take coronavirus away. Stay at home, stay safe. I wish that this COVID-19 could go away. Stay safe, stay nice. Stay home, stay safe. Use water and soap to wash your hand. And use sanitizer.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has said in the coming days the lockdown imposed because of the coronavirus pandemic will be eased slightly, with more businesses and shops allowed to operate. The country has been the worst hit in Africa, with about 12,000 confirmed cases and 219 deaths. In a live broadcast on Wednesday, Mr. Ramaphosa admitted his government had made mistakes, but said the country was in uncharted territory. He said had it not been for the almost 8-week lockdown, at least 80,000 people could have contracted the virus. The World Health Organization has warned that the coronavirus may never go away. WHO Emergencies Director Dr. Mike Ryan warned against trying to predict when the virus would disappear. He added that even if a vaccine is found, controlling the virus will require a massive effort.
This virus may become just another endemic virus in our communities, and this virus may never go away. HIV has not gone away, but we've come to terms with the virus, and we have found the therapies and we've found the prevention methods, and people don't feel as scared as they did before, and we're offering life to people with HIV, long, healthy lives to people with HIV. And I'm not comparing the two diseases, but I think it is important that we're realistic, and I don't think anyone can predict when or if this disease will disappear. We do have one great hope. If we do find a highly effective vaccine that we can distribute to everyone who needs it in the world, we may have a shot at eliminating this virus. But that vaccine will have to be available. It'll have to be highly effective. It will have to be made available to everyone, and we will have to use it. Science can come up with the vaccine, but someone's got to make it, and we've got to make enough of it that everyone can get a dose of it, and we've got to be able to deliver that, and people have got to want to take that vaccine. Every single one of those steps is fraught with challenges.
Meanwhile, Burundi has expelled the World Health Organization representative in the country and 3 other health experts. An unsigned letter from the Foreign Affairs Ministry declares the WHO representative, Dr. Walter Kazadi Mulombo, and 3 others as persona non grata, and gives them 48 hours to leave the country. We move now to sports. Manchester United have reportedly secured 23-year-old France and Lyon striker Moussa Dembele. The move creates space at Lyon for Zimbabwean striker Tino Kadewere, who was signed from Le Havre and loaned back for the remainder of the season. Dembele was widely expected to leave Chelsea, had also targeted the striker. Tottenham midfielder Dele Alli was held at knife point during a burglary in the early hours of Wednesday morning. The BBC reports that 2 men broke into the 24-year-old's house in North London. The English player suffered minor facial injuries in a scuffle. And in Formula One, Ferrari has confirmed that Carlos Sainz Jr. will join them to replace Sebastian Vettel. Sainz signed a 2-year contract to drive for the team. Vettel's departure this week is expected to result in more movements ahead of the start of the season. One of the athletes that have over the years raised Zimbabwe's flag at the Olympics in rowing, Mykene Thornycroft, she qualified for the 2012 Summer Olympics and the 2016 edition in the single scull events. Now, what is next for Mykene?
So I am no longer competing internationally for rowing. I retired after Rio. I knew going into the games, my plan was always to retire after that games. I've been so lucky in the racing that I've had and the career that I've had, and it was just the right time for me to move on. So I'm living in the UK now, working as a teacher.
You can watch the rest of the interview today on Sports Daily.